Alrighty. All right, I'm here with Holyn. She's sponsored by Dynamic Discs and OTB Discs. I saw your form on Instagram, and I really had to talk with you because I mean, once you guys see her form, it's incredible. I had to talk with you, Holyn, and like say, how did you learn the form? I'm a form nerd. I've only been playing for 4 years, but I've started Seeker disc golf training course, online disc golf training course, and I've interviewed the pros, and everything that I see in your form, Holyn, it's what I've learned, and I'm trying to learn. So I'm really excited to just review form with you. Thanks for being on. Could you share with us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. I'm a fellow form nerd as well, so I'm excited the conversation we're gonna have.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've been playing disc golf for a little more than 2.5 years.
Wow.
Picked it up.
That's a big statement right there, because you
Yeah,
just told me that you just quit your job and going full time. So I know you'll get into that real quick, but it's just a big statement. So
yeah,
let
yeah.
that sink
So
in.
I picked up the sport October of 2019. Never really thrown a disc before, never thrown a frisbee all that well. My boyfriend and I just kind of found it online, went and got a starter pack, and then just were out there every single weekend. And really, for me, the whole form journey, it didn't. The idea wasn't that someday I'd be playing professionally or even really competing. I just wanted to throw better. And so it was just a lot of finding the best throwers and studying their form, looking at what they're doing, what I'm not doing, and then just like picking one little thing, hammering away at it, rinse and repeat. And then, that kind of got me here. So
So okay, what was the journey like from just starting 2.5 years ago? Like seriously, I'll share your form here and we'll go over it just a little bit. But that's incredible. 2.5 years. What was that journey look like? Where did you start learning? Did you learn from someone else? Was it all feels for you? Just very start until maybe now. Just a quick summary.
yeah, so I mean, yeah, day one, it was just kind of flinging my arm, like I have some video clips of that day even, and
Was it
it
pretty
doesn't look
bad?
anything yeah, it doesn't look anything like how I throw now, but yeah, and then we played for several months and I wasn't really necessarily trying to learn anything in particular. Like I looked up videos of like an X step and, started playing around with that. And then it was probably June or so of 2020 when I first videoed myself look like with the intent of looking at form. Cause I think everyone goes through this where they're like, oh yeah, I'm doing exactly what the pros are doing. And then you look at yourself and you're like, nope, doesn't look anything like that.
In your
And
in your head, from your own two eyes, you feel like, oh yeah, that's it. And then you
yeah, yeah, like I'm hitting the power pocket. I'm not rounding. And of course I look at the video and it's like, yeah, the footwork's not great. The rounding's really bad. It looks like it's all arm. There's no leg involved whatsoever.
yeah,
And so, I literally took just side by side videos of myself and I would pull someone like Paige Pierce or Simon Lazat, Drew Gibson, like those throwers who have really, really good compact form and have a lot of power. And
yeah,
so I'm looking just side by side, like, okay, what are the differences? And like, what's something I can kind of isolate? So like going back to my footwork was really bad. And so that's kind of where I started. I was not closing my foot off to the target and I didn't have that kind of offset between the front and back foot that you want. And so I just started there. I was like, okay, we're going to remove everything else. We're just going to work on footwork until we get this feeling natural. Cause I was a volleyball player. So like the X step, it's the opposite footwork of a volleyball hit.
mm-hmm,
And so like
mm-hmm,
that felt super, super awkward. So I had to like really break it down and like go super, super slow to really nail that. And then once that started feeling comfortable, I wanted to get rid of the rounding. And so I started looking at like, okay, how are people reaching back so that they're not rounding? And so I would just throw into a net, kind of isolating, like, okay, well, here's a power pocket. I'm going to train my body to know what a power pocket feels like. Now I'm going to train myself to get into the power pocket. And now we're going to work backward from there and start incorporating it into the full form. And then, once I kind of mastered that, go back to the beginning, look at my form, compare it to somebody who's really, really good, find a difference that I can isolate, hammer away at it, start incorporating it into the form. And then, just over months and months, and then, 2 years later, it starts to look like what it looks like now. And I would say I haven't worked on backhand specifically stuff probably this year all that much. The last thing I was really working on was getting my off arm involved more and getting
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more lag, a little more separation between the lower and upper body.
Mm.
And I was working on that toward the end of last year. And then this year, it's really been like my big project has been working on my sidearm.
Whole
So
nother
yeah, that's
beast.
kind of where we are now. Yeah, it's a whole
So
other beast.
before we share your form, I want to get your thoughts on your form and mine, if you would. But uh, what was first of all? It sounds like it was a lot of review and compare and isolate and just like back and forth, probably between you and the pros. Was that
Yeah.
correct? Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay. And then, um, what was the biggest? Was there a biggest hurdle that you found in your backhand? Let's say like rounding, and then how did you get over that?
Yeah, I would say the hardest problem, and probably hardest just because it was so early on, was the rounding. Getting the footwork okay was fairly simple, but the hardest part with the rounding is you can get yourself to do it in a field. You can get yourself to reach back wider in a field, but then I would go on the weekend to play course, and I'd go right back to what I was
Yeah.
doing before, where now
Right.
I want to throw far. So I go back to my like trying to throw far and it's not looking very smooth. And I go right back to the like kind of pinched off reach back, right? Where that angle
Right.
between your arm and your shoulders is too small. You don't have room for the disc to come through. And I would round. Um, and so really like kind of bridging that gap was the biggest challenge. And I think the thing that did it for me was like finding a cue that I could use like as a swing thought while I'm on the tee, like during my normal round. And so I would use kind of my off arm, my left hand to kind of push the disc away from my body as I run up. And
Mhm.
then the other part was just like accepting the fact that I'm not going to throw very far until I get this thing figured out. And so just accepting that like I need to go slow, I need to focus on being smooth, and I need to focus on nailing this reach back point. And knowing that like it was going to take as long as it takes, but eventually my form was going to be better and I was going to be throwing further. And yeah, it turns out like kind of when you let go of that need to be better right this second, that's when you start to actually see the improvement when you focus on slowing down and being smooth and hitting the right positions.
Well, you're speaking truth, and that's what I teach at Seeker. So let's go ahead and share my screen, and I want to get into this form review. All right, let's check this out. So I just have that video that you sent me. Here's your form, and look how smooth that is. That's incredible. It it's even more impressive that you said that it's only been 2.5 years or so, even if it was 4 years. And I love everything about this. Um, you can really see the outwardness, popping the disc out from your body versus coming a reach back and straight back. Even
Hmm.
it's almost, it's not straight back. It's out. It's going out versus back. I call it the double move, but I love your off
Hmm.
arm. All the pros come down and it's that crank effect. One arm is
Yeah.
moving back while the other one is moving forward. As
Hmm.
your front toe hits down, you're at full extension. I love this. And of course you come nice to the power pocket. Tell me a little bit more about how you got there and like how would you analyze your own form?
Yeah, so I would say if I could improve anything right now, it would be getting even more lag between the lower and upper body, and I'd be curious to know your thoughts as well if there's anything you think I could do better, but because I really think like it's tempting to think that it's just a power thing, but it's so much it's like a whip, right? So I'd like to think of the form as a whip. And there are even little details in there where I'm just trying to lengthen that whip because, I have a very average ape index. That's why I think you see so many of like the lankier dudes, they throw so far is
Mhm.
because they have that extra long whip. But yeah, I mean the in terms of the journey, it really came the footwork first and then fixing the reach back point and then kind of the separation of the upper and lower body and the off arm kind of came together. And
Mhm.
so that's probably the most recent change is trying to get that off arm to come in fast and I'm almost trying to like punch the ground. And then I
Yeah.
discovered that kind of naturally when I do that, that back leg kind of turns in and those hips start to go. And so if I can kind of delay the throwing arm coming through and get that off arm in, that kind of fixed the timing issues with my lower and upper body and got me a lot more distance.
So I'll go through before I don't know if I even have too many thoughts, to be honest. I might I have one probably, but I want to play a little game with you, true and false. Okay, and
Okay.
as you've learned your form. So as we look at your video, let's say, okay, true or false, the disc should come back in a straight line and leave your hand in a straight line to the target.
I'd say false. It's more of an out and out kind of motion. I think some players who are really flexible in their spine are able to maybe get it to look more like a straight line, but for me, it's more of like a parabolic curve.
Mm-hmm.
So like this kind of swoopy
It's like
out in out
this,
motion.
that, yeah.
Yeah, because if you think about it, you can't pull the disc on a straight line because one, your body's in the way, but two, your elbow would get out in front of your shoulder, and it's like literally impossible to actually pull the disc on a perfectly straight line. It has to come in as a curve.
Um, true or false? And we just talked about it, but it's reaching back versus your elbow coming out.
Yeah, I think of it as more of an out, like a reach
Out.
out.
That's what you see in
Yeah,
Drew
because
Gibson and yourself as we
yes.
look at your like you're coming. I mean, it's so clear you're coming out. You're coming out, but here's the difference: is your body's coiled. So that's
Mhm.
where it makes it seems like it's almost back.
Yeah, it
But it's
feels
actually
back
out.
because my
Yeah.
shoulders are turned away, but
Shoulders and you're coiled up with
yeah,
your shoulders.
yeah,
Correct? Okay.
yes.
Um, true or false, your shoulder moves independently of itself, one shoulder, or they both go together.
Mhm.
So
I don't
one,
know, I haven't really thought about this one.
and
Yeah,
then
because I mean,
versus
really, I initiate it kinda with the right shoulder, so I let the pull like, the shoulder coming down kinda pull the other one back. So it might be, like, not perfectly together, but I do think that the off shoulder kinda initiates movement with the throwing shoulder.
as I look here, it's true, meaning they go together because as I look and see a lot of the pros, including yours, you're coming both arms, shoulders right here. You see
Mhm,
that rotate? It's a swivel on your head. Now, obviously,
mhm,
when you initiate the double move, is what I call it with your left arm. Obviously,
mhm.
then it collapses together,
Yeah.
collapses, and then comes back. But I think from here to here,
Yeah, they're moving pretty much
it's
together.
pretty much together, right? So your head's on a swivel almost.
Yeah.
And some are a little bit easier. Like if you look at Drew Gibson and um, others, you'll see it's a little bit easier to tell. But I would call that true. Uh,
Yeah.
most of the case.
Yeah, I think I'd
Let's
agree with you.
yeah, okay, awesome. True or false? Your hips should move before like initiate the pull through. True or false?
Yeah, I'd say true 100% because you're getting the power. It's like a whip, right? You do like a little motion at the handle, the big part, which is like your legs. Your legs are your handle, and then that kinetic energy moves up all of the increasingly smaller pieces until you get to the very end, which is tiny, and that gives you that snap.
So your hips initiating the pull through, like it's going,
Yeah.
it's your hips are going first.
Yeah, I would say the hips are gonna be slightly in front of everything else.
Okay, so explain to me how that actually works here on your form. Like where do you feel like it's initiating
Yeah,
first?
I think right where like it kind of happens when the double move is happening. So right when this off arm is coming in, I'm trying to knock my knees together to get those hips to start the movement. So I think otherwise that's when you start seeing people like with their shoulder kind of cranking up and their elbow kind of getting ahead of them.
Yeah.
Because ideally it would be your hips are just like a few inches in front of your shoulders, in front of your elbow.
Okay. That's fantastic. So I'm trying to, as I'm just saying, your form looks incredible, and I'm sure you shoot really well. I don't even know your rating, but there's a lot of noise out there, and I'm trying to cut through the noise with a hot buttery knife. Now everybody learns differently. I'm not saying disc golf is fluid in some ways, but you have to have a foundation,
Sure.
to be able to pull through from. And was that journey hard for you about trying to figure out how to get to this place, or was it easy? Come
I
naturally?
won't say it was easy, and I won't say it came naturally. I will say I was very particular about the sources that I got my information from because, like you said, there is a lot of not great information out there. And I'll be honest, I didn't look at a ton of the like kind of channels that are geared toward teaching,
Mm-hmm.
unless it was someone who also threw really well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Not, and that's not a knock against anyone who like knows the information and because knowing how to do it and knowing how to teach it are two different things.
Mm-hmm. Like
But
Paul Macbeth, I'm surprised with Paul Macbeth. He's a terrible teacher. Have you seen him teach?
yeah, like
He's so bad.
sometimes if I mean I've never tried to learn from him other than just watching him. But, yeah, so I'm protective of who I get that information from, especially when I was new, because like, I just didn't know, I can't tell you how many guys on just randomly on the course would be like, "Hey, you should do this," and then I
Right.
found out later that that was garbage. Um,
You
so I
should
mean,
you
I
should do
tr
your forehand with one finger. Like
yeah. I mean, hey, I Andrew Marweed makes it work, so it's not it's not totally
I don't know.
impossible.
Yeah.
I can't do it, but some I don't know. I don't know. It's a whole different beast, but yeah, I mean, I would look at different people who had effortless looking form, and I would try to find the commonalities to try and get a set of principles, right? So like I would say the principles are like your feet, the wide reach back, grip, the power pocket, and then hips in front, the legs ahead of your upper body are all principles, and they're going to look a little different on every person, but the principles are all there. And so for me, it was just figuring out like, okay, what are those principles? And then what are some like drills that work for me and what are cues that work for me personally to actually get me there? And then that's kind of what I try to do for clients as well is like, okay, I know what the principles are and I know what you should kind of be looking like. So let's find the thing that gets it to click for you and then
Right.
kind of get them started on that process and then give them basically a way to practice.
So the only thing I see here, which I love, you started incorporating the double move again, the left arm coming down here. Um, I love so Paul Macbeth, Simon, and Drew Gibson is the biggest guy I think that has like a. There's different ways to do the double move, which
Hmm.
is um, to the side,
Hmm.
um, down, and then almost like a punchy down. So Drew
Hmm.
Gibson does this
The
thing,
punch.
the punch
Yep.
down. So I'm not saying it's anything big, but I see it almost like yours as being like a massive windmill here. You see that as you come
Hmm.
up.
Yeah.
I wonder if you instead of coming up and maybe if you experimented with different ways to come in. Paul Macbeth comes in pretty he just from the side, he doesn't do any of this, but he just like keeps it up and then comes in. Drew Gibson
Hmm.
initiate, and that's why I was talking about the shoulders because his really like comes in just a little bit and then he collapses, as he pulls through. I'd be interested to see if that helps or harms yours at all, just because it is such a like a windmill thing, which you might feel like you need to get
Hmm.
that. But I found that if I just, as you'll see in my form, if I just have a nice little down, and then I actually another thing too is I actually like to go out again as I rip it off. I come
Yeah.
down and I rip it off just a little bit, So I don't
Yeah. I agree
see
with you
that.
there. That's something I'm
Yeah, you
definitely
don't
like
do that. You don't do
working
that.
towards. We'll see like some throws where like I really get on it. I sometimes see myself do that.
Do you? Okay.
This video is a little bit more accurate to what I probably
Yeah.
do
Perfect. Yeah.
90% of the time. But yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I think like Chris Dickerson's another one who does it really
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know exactly what you're talking about and I'm working on it.
Yeah. Yeah. But I love that. I honestly, I just, it's so smooth. And I love this part right here. This part right there. the in
Yeah,
and
that's
out
actually a little thing. If you'll notice, like I kind of cock my wrist back just a little bit at the extension there.
right here,
Yeah, it's just a little bit, but that's something I've played with of like,
right there,
that's a
right
little
this
bit more
right here, right?
right there. Yeah. So that's just like another like nth of a second, fraction of a second delay on bringing the disc in, and that's how
Yeah.
I kind of give myself time to get to get my arm in earlier. I've
How do
noticed that's
you
something that
how did you because I struggle with hitting this motion right here,
Mhm.
right in the power pocket. Like what does that feel like for you? How do you
Yeah, so what I did for that is I like through so I would go out to the field and near my apartment at the time, and I would just have a stack of discs, and so I would just like I'm gonna hold my microphone so you can actually hear me. But like I would just like hold the disc here and just follow through,
love
right?
it? I
And I
love it.
would do that for like half an hour. And then I wouldn't do anything else. And then I go out the next day. I do that for half an hour, not do anything else. And then I would also train the other side of it. So like, okay, reaching out, coming in, reaching out. And this is something I have clients
Just
do is
steps.
just practice reaching out and coming in. And I'll put like my hand or a disc right here. I'll be like, don't let your elbow get ahead of your shoulder. And so I'll have them do a few pumps and then just really slowly follow through and release the disc. They're not really throwing it. It's just like you're training your body that this is a position you want to hit. And then you're worrying about the timing of it and all of that later because it's really hard to consciously change your timing. It's better, I think, to just learn the positions and then kind of let the timing develop organically.
I love that. That's exactly what I train in one of my videos is that like learning backhand for the first time is like just start here
Mm-hmm.
and just throw. Stand still, just get used to this. Um,
Yeah.
but point what you said is don't let your shoulder or your elbow get ahead of your shoulder. Is that correct?
Yes.
So you're
Yeah.
not like that. You're this one.
Yeah, because I think like I don't like to have people focus on too many things at once. And so
Sure.
if someone's rounding, I'm not going to tell them anything about their hips, right? I'm just focusing on like, let's get your reach back a little wider. And so let's figure out where we want your upper body to end up. But by not letting them pass their elbow in front of their shoulder, that I think kind of sets up for later when we start to learn about the separation of the lower and the upper body. It's not like super important, but it'll actually make a later step a little bit easier without having to get them thinking about their lower body and their upper body at the same time.
Love it. So do you mind if we take a look at mine? I'd love your criticism.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. All righty. All right. All right. Here's mine.
Yeah, I like that you have the
And
side view. I'm sorry I couldn't have side view for
oh
you.
no, I like the back view as well. I think it tells a lot as well. So this is actually me throwing full power putter, and I'm getting
Okay.
about 300 and something feet.
Nice.
So let's see here. So this is kind of actually in the way of the feet. So
Yeah.
let's go
Yeah.
slowly.
Yeah, let's go slow because it's looking a little like choppy coming over the feed. So
Okay.
yeah, if we
Yes.
can go slow and kind of go a little more frame by frame. Yeah, I mean, I like it. I think
The
it
feet
looks
you
actually
can't
really
see
good. Yeah. The
too
the
bad,
feet
right?
look the feet look really good, I think. And then yeah, you do a good job of getting your arm in early. Your head looks nice and relaxed. I think the only thing is, yeah, as you're coming into the power pocket, it looks like the disc is a little bit higher than your elbow. So I wonder if that's maybe contributing to a little bit of nose up. I mean, you are throwing a putter, so that might be intentional.
And that dude, that's
Um,
no, it's not. It's
okay.
actually something that I've been struggling with, and that's like so you can see. I did a form review of myself, and I'm struggling with from this point
Yeah, because it looks good
to
there.
here as I go into the power pocket. You start to see a little bit of nose down angle is
Hmm.
almost like coming just a little, like almost like a tiny little wave,
Hmm.
right? So I don't know what
Yeah.
that's contributing to. I feel like, yeah, my elbow isn't. I don't think it's. Maybe it's too much ahead of my shoulder. I'm not sure, but I don't know what causes that.
Yeah. Mm.
So I got the full extension right there
Yeah, that looks
as
great.
I touch down.
Yeah, it looks like your elbow might be just a tad early as well. I
A tad
wonder if
early.
like getting a little bit more wrist coil would kind of delay your elbow coming through a little bit.
Talking about what you're doing, what you were talking about with
Yeah,
the.
like doing that so it's like this when, you're out. Sorry, I'll have the mic here. So like it's like that when you're out a little bit, and then when you come in, you're a little bit more coiled like that, like you're making a muscle with your bicep or something. Because like you do a good job of having the hand on the outside of the disc, but like you could even have it like back a little bit more, get a little bit more of a coil, and I wonder if that would help give your hips a little more time to get through.
Hmm. Let's see. Ah,
Bless you.
so yeah, I think you're right. So like when I come in, my disc is not as maybe coiled as much.
Hmm.
Would you agree?
Yeah, you have a pretty neutral wrist there, which I don't think is bad, but I think it's kind of like I like lengthening the whip, right? Like if you're able to get it to coil just a little bit more, your whip is a few inches longer, and then also that's going to delay your upper body coming through, give your chance for your hips maybe to get a little bit more ahead.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Do you feel like it's a problem with my shoulder, one shoulder being higher than the other?
It's so slight that I don't like hate it. It's such a subtle thing, but I mean, if you were seeing a lot of like nose up angle,
Yeah, I'm seeing.
yeah,
I'm pretty consistent. I can throw it like
okay,
that. These were beautiful shots, straight and almost
hmm,
Anheuser, throwing 300 feet with the putter, which is been a big goal of mine for a long time.
yeah,
But I mean, yeah, sometimes I make some nose up angles. So
yeah,
true or false? Actually, there's a second power pocket. It's maybe the pre-power pocket. So I learned from Drew Gibson, some others, that there's actually here, obviously where you're reaching out to matters. And so you want to stay
hmm,
within, for the most part, a bubble, which I call the pre-power pocket, just a
hmm,
name. Versus, I mean, unless you're throwing way uphill, so you go down farther, and you come and then you come in. Is that,
sure.
do you think that's true or false? There's like a pre area that you need to stay around, like a pre
I'll
power
say
pocket.
true. It's not something that I've spent a ton of time thinking about, but I have noticed like if I'm struggling with hitting a particular like uphill or downhill gap, if I
Yeah.
kind of change my reach back point, it makes it a little easier to hit that angle. In particular, like if I'm trying to throw a roller and get it down fast, like reaching back a little bit higher can make it easier to one, get that Anheuser angle, and then two, actually get it down a little faster. That's actually something I kind of want to go out and check is like, what's the difference in terms of like how my form looks if I'm trying to throw a roller versus just like an Anheuser like distance shot.
Hmm.
TBD. Keep y'all posted on that one.
I would love to see what that is.
Yeah.
Um, awesome. Okay. Well, looks like I have some. I want to try that real quick. The little. I agree. I need to, and then come back in just like you do.
Yeah,
Um,
and you kind of just keep like you have to keep your the pinch really really hard. But if you can figure out a way to like keep this really really stiff, but then everything else really really fluid, that's kind of the key to getting that like snappy whippy motion with
so
the
is it like
wrist.
this? Is it like this type of
Yeah. Yeah,
movement?
exactly.
So come back. Okay.
Hmm.
I will check that out. Well, it's been a pleasure, Holland, for getting you on here and chatting forum. What can people go do to support you? Probably go like your Instagram. Um,
Yeah, go follow me on Instagram. I do Pro Tip Tuesdays. So every Tuesday, I put together a reel of just a common tip that's either helped me or helped people that I work with doing lessons. I have discs for sale on otbdiscs.com. You'll have to go to their search bar and actually search my name in order to find them. I also have discs for sale, so if you want a Hybrid X Verdict, hit me up on Instagram. And then later this summer, I should have some discs available at some local retailers. So if you're following my Instagram, I'll have information on where to get those.
Love it. Love it. Hall 17 underscore 17.
Halls_17.
That's awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us, and it was a pleasure meeting you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. I'll stop the